Hello. Welcome Anand Singh Bhattari. I would like you to introduce first of all.
All right. Thank you, Dipti, for that. Basically, I am a co-founder in XPSolve. That's a small micro enterprise, I can say, and we are into edtech domain. Just a brief intro at this moment, and we are extensively using the uh, breakthroughs which are happening all across us, generative AI, and all that space.
Okay. Okay. I would like you to define what is artificial intelligence and how this is even compared with the human intelligence.
Sure. See, basically, this artificial intelligence, as we call, I think this word came into vogue maybe a decade back and more than that as well. Now, when this particular term was being worked out, uh, at that moment, obviously, the kind of systems we had were more or less based on patterns. So, right from let's say, if we go back to uh, 4 decades back, even, then what we see across is that these machines were able to use statistics to basically get the patterns. And then, on the basis of the patterns, they can have a projection. And that projection was basically called like intelligence at that moment.
Okay.
Now, obviously, fast forward to today's days, the artificial intelligence is all encompassing. And obviously, those terms which was being worked out in past no more holds the ground. Now,
Mm,
that's where a very important factor is that where this line between the artificial intelligence and human intelligence is blurring.
mhm,
And the important thing which we need to understand is the Turing effect. Now,
mm,
Turing effect basically, as you know, that Turing was the guy in the Second World War who deciphered the German codes, right? And he was one of the genius of his time, and till today, even people know that that he actually said that on basis of that, Turing is a point when any machine, for that matter, starts behaving more or less like a human, in the sense
mhm,
that if you start interacting with the machine and it behaves like a human, and out of a sample, bigger sample, if there are more than 70% of that sample which says that I was talking to a human being or I was interacting with a human being, you're not telling that obviously that interaction is happening through a machine or a human being. That
mm,
means the Turing point has been crossed. Now that happened a few years back. So the
mm,
model basically was allowed to interact with a group of people, obviously controlled sample, and 70% of the time, all the people who were interacting and then all that stats of the that sample actually went more than 70% people said that I'm talking to a human being. So
mm,
therefore, the Turing point was actually crossed. So therefore, now that artificial intelligence and the human intelligence, that line has already blurred. So
mm.
the human intelligence, we can say, is now almost there in these computing models, or these LLM models, as you can say, right? So that's where we are standing today.
Okay. Okay, if I ask you, define artificial intelligence for all our non-IT people. So you must have seen that people are getting scared a lot. It's the topic of the town now. So how will you define artificial intelligence for those set of people?
Well, basically, for any layman who doesn't have much background in the technology,
Hmm.
it's like basically, I would say that, let's say, if I have to travel from X
Hmm.
to Y place, right?
Hmm.
I am, let's say, I'm traveling first time from India across the globe, right?
Hmm.
So obviously, there's a nervousness always.
Right.
And the kind of technology which you use to move a person from one place to other place is definitely high tech, right? You are putting that person into a plane, and that is all pressurized, and there's so many techs being involved, and you take that person to a different country altogether. And so that kind of anxiety will always remain for the person who basically does not know what is
Hmm.
the things behind. But as soon as they start using it, it becomes a kind of part and parcel of their life.
Hmm.
And that's where the difference starts coming in. So it's like basically you drive your car first time, you're a little bit nervous about it, right? So
mm,
basically, AI, for that matter, utilizing AI into your daily chores and daily life is basically just to be accustomed about it. But by the way, I will tell you that if most of the people must have seen that movie called Interstellar, right? So there are
mm,
cars and all those kind of stuff, right? Humanoid kind of stuff. So it's basically like conversing to these humanoids, which will become a kind of a, which may happen very soon, maybe in a few quarters, or max to max maybe 2 years, and that too also I may be completely wrong. That can happen before, not after that. So we
mm,
are almost in that age where we may be interacting with these humanoid machines in different form and all that, and become second nature for us.
mm,
And it's just a matter of initial inhibitions, and then it becomes day-to-day kind of work, right? So
mm,
that's where we are. And I would say that for non-techies, it will be easier to adopt this technology and use it than for the people who are into technology per se at this moment, because we have from a technology guy, if I put a technology guy hat, then then I, whatever journey I have taken in technology up till now, that actually gives me a lens to see other things. And therefore, my perception may be completely in a different way than what
mm,
exactly the reality is. But a
mm,
person who sees the thing for the first time, they only perceive what exactly is there, but not from a preconceived notion. So for the IT folks, it's a little bit more challenging
mm.
compared to non-techies. That's my take on this.
Did anybody or do we have any tool that a non-tech person are using right now, or or maybe you can give some examples wherein AI is already implemented for the layman person in the world nowadays. Like for
Yeah,
example, in my daily routine, do you feel there are AI which is already we guys are using it and we don't know it?
well, I would give you a very simple example, and which actually most of the people must have seen in India, of course, is that in the recent IPO, there
Hmm.
was a humanoid robot which came across for putting the toss. I don't
Okay.
know whether you saw that or not, but yes, that's a simple example. But yes,
Oh.
the toss was being done by a robot and walked
Hmm.
like a human being. Right? So that's like in whole public glare, you are seeing the technology working out. But I think that's one point. Another point is obviously the chat GPT and all those different models which are being exposed today.
Hmm.
The people are using it right straightforward in their day-to-day life. And if you see across, the most of the people are using WhatsApp, right? And there, I think it will just take a few more maybe weeks or so for that to have that LLM models interaction. So what actually happens is that if you want to send some message to somebody and you basically don't want to write all that message, you want very professional kind of thing to be done. Just a small case study or example. So that person can say, okay, I want to send this kind of information. Can you articulate it in this way with this kind of emotions being worked out in it? And
Okay.
it's just right across, and then you send it. So that's the kind of thing. It's just a matter of maybe a few weeks that all this thing is there. But people are using ChatGPT day in day out, right?
Yes. Yes.
All non-techies. They are creating all these letters or messages, for that matter, even images. And the Ghibli is an example, right? That was a craze. Any
Yes.
photograph, I would like to basically have my Ghibli on that. So that's where we are, right? So there are everybody is in one form or other form. We are using it, but may not be directly knowing that yes, they are using this thing.
That's correct. That's correct.
Mm.
And there's one more thing, Anand. There's a human quotient always involved in VR. So, for example, I used to work with a tutor. My teacher used to teach me. So there was always a human quotient involved in all the profession or the daily routine. So do you really feel, for example, these AI tools are coming up, so that human quotient will get missing? So do you really feel it will take over that quotient as well?
Yes, I think we are working on that those lines. So basically, that's certainly one thing which is close to I think to our interior as well. Now, I will give you a small example, and I think that actually I'm saying and how basically your point of view is also covered in that is that the where the human quotient. Now, for any kid for the matter, that kid may be having many teachers, and there may be parents and tutors and all those kind of things, right? Now, the thing is that there is a human inclination. Everybody has got their best teacher, best tutor, the person whom they would like to follow, whom they kind of really crazy about, and in a number of ways. Now, that more happens more. That's the biasism in and that can be easily with that if we can capitalize on that, people
Mm.
can learn faster. These kids can learn faster. Everybody can learn faster. So let's say if I have got a teacher and I have got a certain bias to a teacher that whatever that person teaches me,
Mm.
I am really right kind of immersed into it. But there are certain teachers who might say, okay, no, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
They've given my lecture, but I'm not so much in tune with that person.
Mm.
And so now, if you see across, we have these uh, the models which can work out. Obviously, holograms is one factor, but again,
Mm.
when you have a artificial intelligence tutor and you have a conversation happening with the tutor, not a keyboard kind of stuff, but if you are
Mm.
talking to that and it's answering, right? Then
Mm.
you can we can basically utilize the teacher's voice and texture and even his facial expression to be moved in to an avatar, and that avatar basically start interacting with that kid.
Mm.
So you can imagine what is going to impact. So I love my science teacher, but maybe I'm not so much convinced with my Sanskrit teacher. But when my science teacher starts basically teaching me Sanskrit, I'm like gung ho. This is the best thing which can happen to me, right? So that we
Yeah.
can definitely work out, and that tech is already there. So
Mm.
we can teach the expression, so we can capture the expression of your best teacher, all the school teachers which are there, and then feed it across in the models, and they start behaving in a similar way. The even expression of the person, and obviously because the facial and all that is being. You've
Mm.
seen the movie like Avatar and also Raju's
Yes.
VFX and all this kind of stuff, right? Um, that happened 5 years back. 6 years back.
Mm.
Today, tech is far more ahead than that. So you can just imbibe all this stuff. Even you can record those people, not only facial, but their texture of the voice, modulation, everything. And then when you start talking to those teachers, I think
Mm.
your learning quotient just goes through the roof. So I think that's
Mm.
where we are working on at this moment.
Okay. So how do you see the world in 2035 with the AI totally implemented everywhere?
Well, the very, I think 2035 is too far. Obviously, very difficult to go that far in nowadays because nowadays it's becoming like a affair of weeks and quarters. So earlier we used to say that the technology matures in 2 years, 3 years, and that actually has been reduced to a quarter and now weeks. So obviously, 10 years is a very big time in this
No,
space.
I want you to visualize. I want you to
Yeah.
tell me your visualization that how will our world see in 2035 with AI totally implemented. So for example, we have flying taxis in Bangalore, right? It's been tested from airport to one of the area. So likewise, there are various things which are getting implemented. So how do you visualize that?
Well, the first very visual thing which comes to my mind, and I think which should be there very soon, are the humanoids.
Okay.
Humanoids who are like definitely look like human beings, more or less, with all the plastic surgery on and everything. It will be very
Oh.
difficult for you to differentiate between a human being and a humanoid until unless you brand them and you know which brand they are coming from, and you will see them quite on and off in your home and on the market and everywhere, and they would be doing all kinds of course and all different kinds of things which you would like to work them out. And on the little bit of humor side, there may be a scenario where you would say that no, this particular humanoid is basically cleaning your car and your home and everything and all menial jobs. But then this humanoid can do code and create applications and so on and so forth as well. Now you say, okay, that's fine. You work on this, get me this app up, and I'm going to wash my car. No problem about
Oh
that.
yeah,
That's where
highly
we are
possible.
going, right?
Highly possible.
So.
To add to your humor, yesterday I've seen one meme wherein a girl says, "I want to marry a person who understands me most," and the answer was marry to a chat GPT.
Yeah, however, that's right. Now that
Yeah.
will be really the case, definitely the case. You can imagine the kind of inputs that these models are having.
Hmm.
They are basically going into realm where I would say, like in India, Dasaswar in this family, you call that obviously, and Ravana and all that. But he was a most intelligent being on earth at that time because you
Yes.
had 10 heads, right?
Heads.
So now every person is the successor if they can use this technology in a proper way. That's the
Oh,
only difference, right?
that's a good comparison.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, okay, okay. So one more thing, Anand. Do you really think this AI will bring in poverty, unemployment, economy issues, theft issues? Because see, everything is a circle. Jobs will going to go, and then people will not have money. Then poverty will come, unemployment. Then obviously theft will increase. So do you really feel that people are looking AI in this way? Do you really think it's right to
No,
look
well,
out?
well, the thing is that, see, it's first and the foremost thing in human nature to
Hmm.
be more in affinity with the negative side of things, right? So and it's a very
Yes.
natural progression of the way we have evolved across. So we generally try to see the negative first because we want to avoid the risk. So that's it's not that basically it's a bad thing. It's a good
Hmm.
thing in the sense that this particular faculty of ours has been developed over the our evolution process to first see the risk
Hmm.
and then see the positives of it. So obviously, any for that matter, anything new comes up in front of us which is new. We will
Hmm.
always see with a pinch of salt, saying that okay, what is the negative side of it, and some people go more into that side, but again, that balance has to be maintained across that what exactly this technology is bringing to the table. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, as far as jobs are concerned, and the correlation which you just mentioned across with the poverty and all those kind of stuff. See, the the main problem or the crux is in the thought process, I would say. So it's something like this that the people who can embrace the change and
Hmm.
adapt
Hmm.
fittest, the survival of the fittest is the holy grail for anything for that matter, right? It doesn't
Hmm.
matter across how much powerful you are, how much good you are, and all that stuff. If you have a knack to fit yourself and adapt,
Hmm.
then everything falls in line. And now for that, obviously, you have to come out of your denial mode, which I think is very important for any technical guy more than non-technical person. Because a non-technical person will embrace this technology faster than a technical guys. Because technical guys will always see it as a competitor,
Hmm.
right? And that's where the problem will start coming. So when you see a machine as a competitor, it's like where you are lending yourself,
Hmm.
you can think about it. So therefore, that denial mode has to be first uh, overcome,
Hmm.
and that is only possible when you start seeing what it is capable of and how it can be utilized. So
Okay.
as soon as the technology becomes a servant of yours,
Hmm.
everything falls in line. But if you see
Yes.
technology as a master, then it's a very poor master. It can really create and destroy you completely, psychologically. So when you
Hmm.
see it coding, and you are a, let's say if I am a very good coder in
Hmm.
Java or any language for that matter. Now, what happens is obviously is a human nature. When I see this particular machine or a code, for that matter, now there are so many codecs and Winsows and cursor and so on and so forth. They start coding and then give you that code. Now, when you see that code and when you see your code, you see across, no, this particular code has also covered a few more things. Now,
Hmm.
that's where the comparison starts coming in. But I would say we need to see it more constructively and move out of the denial mode and then go and say across, see, now if this particular machine or technology can give me all these codes,
Hmm.
how can I grow up in the lab? And
Hmm.
how can I grow? Now, the only problem with the IT industry is that we are so much ingrained into the IT service job kind of perspective that the bigger picture has been lost. So I think Joho's founder, Wimbo, has quite time and again stressed this point that you need to broaden your horizon and see the things in their perspective and just not be sticking to the job, saying that, okay, this is a high paying job for me, And
Hmm.
let's continue this. Now, there's no job permanent in this world,
Hmm.
and all jobs have been destroyed and then created in a different way. So
Yes.
that obviously happens here as well. Now, the only thing is that this is a bigger opportunity which is striking our doors. Only thing
Hmm.
is we have to see it because now, as I told you, that disaster is unleashed for you all.
Hmm.
So you have a basically capability of a superhuman through these technology,
Hmm.
and which you can now utilize to create value and faster. So where if you can unleash a value maybe in a 2 years, 3 years span of time,
Hmm.
that you can do maybe within weeks. Now, if you can think about something which will add value to our whole ecosystem as a human beings and as a society,
Hmm.
I think you have nailed it down. So that's why I think that micro enterprise way, which which was about to strive,
Hmm.
and we had a gap because we called up into startup kind of thing where people just are into the extreme of the people and saying, okay, as you started doing a startup,
Hmm.
you are into a billionaire club or a millionaire club or a unicorn club. That's not the way how basically the world works,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you see the things as a micro enterprise perspective, like
Hmm.
the kirana stores, and the 95% to more than 95% of India is still running their own business.
Hmm.
The income tax department actually affirms this, right? Only 5% or maybe less than that people are paying income tax. That means what these 95% people are doing?
Hmm.
These people are giving you GST. They are giving you everything, right? More or less. But that's where we have to see across that this is the era where the techies can also move into that area in a faster way. Micro
Hmm.
enterprise. See, I will give you a small example. How much you earn from your job? Let's just bottom down to that point. So whatever you earn from your job,
Hmm.
after tax and everything,
Yeah.
put that number in place, right? How much time you're giving to
Hmm.
that job, put that in a place. Compare it
Hmm.
across. Now have a small endeavor of yours which just works for maybe a fraction of time which you are giving in your job and all that. And if you
Hmm.
can match those numbers, you're
Hmm.
done for the day. Then the rest of the time you have for yourself and you can obviously grow it. It all depends on you. So I think that is the way we need to see. And for a country like India, where you have such a huge workforce, an
Hmm.
intellectual workforce, intelligent workforce, people who are educated, I think we have to come out of that mold of saying
Hmm.
that no, uh, what are you doing? I am basically in X company. I would not name the companies. They are all big, huge companies. So
Yeah.
I think I will not go into that. But that status feeling is costing you big time.
Yes. Correct.
So I think let's come out of that and say that no, let's go into the micro enterprise gear, and then the whole world you see in a different perspective. And now this technology, which you were kind of afraid of, or you were like, my job is gone and all that kind of stuff, you suddenly say that, oh man, now this is what I wanted. Because if this is not there, I would have been lost,
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
So I think that kind of paradigm shift has to
Hmm.
happen. The faster, the better.
Hmm.
So people have to come out of denial mode, accept this technology, start using it, and then
Hmm.
I think they are better placed than a non-techie persons because they know exactly what it can be, what it can do, and how fast it can do it. So I think that should be the perspective. Um, so I think let's see if that actually starts unfolding.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's a very nice stuff that you have shared, because we know how salaried people are. That's a pain. That's a pain for them,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
we are paying a lot of tax. Salary, if you increase also, but we are just paying 30% tax. That's a
Exactly.
pain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one story I'd like Anand you to share is that the moment you realize that this is a monotonous task, I can't do it anymore because I'm the part of tech industry. We have AI is a blessing for all of us. So how did you realize that this is a monotonous task? I want to use my AI and convert it to some faster game.
Well, actually, the thing is that I would tell you my journey, and I think that will give you a perspective of it. Basically, if you go back 3 years back, I think that's where the ChatGPT starts coming
Yeah.
into public, right? And we start using these models. So obviously, the first wave of the users. So
Hmm.
I was basically one of those in the sense that start using it. So I've been experimenting with these models from that time onwards. Now I'll tell you that 8 months back, still these models were not holding their ground because these
Correct.
models were again based on pattern, and they see the pattern you ask question, basically it brings out those pattern in a human language
Hmm.
in a conversation, a simple language. Now the problem still remained
Hmm.
that they were nowhere close to a human way of working. Now the
Right.
difference was reasoning. We
Hmm.
as a human, what we do is that when we see or learn anything, we reason. Reason in the sense that we see the logic, and when
Hmm.
then the logic starts moving in, we also compare it, saying that okay, this is a pattern, but that's fine. But if I put this pattern to some other place,
Hmm.
how I can mold it and then use the same pattern at another place, right? But that requires
Okay.
critical thinking in the sense that we start reflecting, create rules, and then experiment with rules, and then again readjust them.
Okay.
That was not happening in these models. These models, like pattern is there, pick up the pattern, show them the answer, that's it. But
Hmm.
in the last 7 months, 6, 7 months, system two thinking is what the game changer was. System two thinking basically is a reasoning kind of thing. So
Hmm.
earlier, if you see 7 months back, when you put a chat, it used to
Hmm.
come within milliseconds back to you.
Right.
But then you see nowadays the model says thinking, reasoning,
Hmm.
and then they basically
Analyzing.
told you analyzing exactly. That is where the system to thinking starts kicking in. That
Hmm.
means now you are not saying that I need the answer immediately. No human being gives an answer immediately. They first
Correct.
reason with that. After reasoning, they see that which one is the best possible answer to that with the logics and all that, and then bring that out. So
Hmm.
that is what called as system to thinking. And actually, it's not that the how big the knowledge base is, but how much your compute system is able to connect the knowledge base which you have. Now that actually
Correct.
started coming in system two thinking. Now that happened in the last 6 months, and it matured with the deep seek impact.
Hmm.
That was a time when I was like completely confident that these models have surpassed that human limit and they have moved into a different realm altogether. And that's
Hmm.
where I took that decision and said, no, this time, this is all up for us. We have to utilize this. It will go faster. And I think whatever you are seeing at this moment is just basically at the tip of the iceberg. And
Hmm.
so that was a transition in the last 6 months,
Yes.
um, which actually struck me quite hard. And I obviously told many people, but they're like I said, I'm afraid, or you are little careful. I said, don't worry about it. See, it's a
Hmm.
Galileo movement. When Galileo said across, no, we are not the center of the earth. The
Hmm.
center of this whole planetary system is sun,
So
right.
that's
So
a
that's
but
the movement basically which came out in the last 4 or 5 months, I would say. So that's the story
so
of it.
this reminds me of, so you are saying chat GPT and other models, they have started analyzing, they have started thinking. Okay. So will this thing make other people dumb? Because I have myself seeing that a lot of kids, okay, the moment we ask any question to them, they'll just go back to chat GPT to get the answer of it. So that just going to chat GPT, they're not using their brain. The brain is just working that, okay, I can go to chat GPT, I will get the answer. So do you feel it will make people dumb as well for the
Well,
ones who will not upgrade?
yeah. See, the thing is that like using a technology will not definitely make you dumb. That's I think a misnomer because usually you use technology. And now the only difference is that there is an approach to the things. That
Hmm.
approach will decide. See, I will give you a small example. Let's say if a person wants to, they are studying, right? Earlier
Hmm.
also we used to have these books with all the question answer kunjis and all that dumps and
Correct.
all that kind of right. So people just go in and do that and then basically remember when it
Hmm.
comes to exam, they will get a good numbers as well. That was the normal stuff. But when it comes to
Hmm.
practical scenario, obviously they will not be able to work out as you know because they were never interested in. Now, that's where the whole problem starts kicking in. So if I say if a student is start using GPT for enhancing their learning
Um,
capability, their reasoning capability, their capability to basically understand the world around them,
hmm,
where it was difficult for them to always go to the teacher and ask them question. Sometimes it's difficult to also read through all these books. You can get the summaries then and there at that moment. Like you see the Google Notebook LM
LM.
in that, right? So you can create your own notes and all that kind of stuff, and then they can be converted into audio, as you know, and all that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. Now that's a learning aid for that matter. Now, if you say that I got a homework and I will let the GPT do that homework, and then God save you, it's a very difficult situation, right? And
Hmm,
ultimately, what will happen across is that the whole level of learning will will basically move into that kind of area where the teachers will more or less start basically giving kind of work or worksheets and all that, which will
hmm,
not be on the base level, but really more on the logical reasoning. I'll give you a small
hmm,
like the exams of IIT, JEE, and all that, right? Or even for that matter, 12th class physics exam, which came last, I think maybe last month.
hmm,
If you saw this exam, the whole exam pattern has changed drastically. Now, where it
hmm.
has gone is that no more the question directly that what happens in the Bernoulli's principle. No, gone are those days. They
Okay.
ask you that, okay, how do you apply this Bernoulli's principle in a basically case study format or in a problem format? So they give a study, oh, this person is going over there and he's trying to build something like this. If you want to
Hmm,
lift it up, what will be the pressure
hmm,
which you basically have to exert, right? So now what actually happening is that you have those questions being put to the human brain, which are not direct, right? So even if they start basically learning, basically putting it into GPT and then bringing out some answer on that, they won't be able to correlate. So it's not very
hmm,
straightforward. So I think the whole exam pattern will also undergo change as you
hmm.
have more aids in the tooling
That's,
aids, right? Like you have MCQs and all that, right? So the MCQ actually came across because people wanted to have more objectivity in the question answers.
hmm,
So all the exams now you see is computer based, CBTs. You go over
hmm,
there in a center and then you do MCQs. So similarly, these things, the time may come where there's open book kind of stuff.
hmm.
You use ChatGPT, not a problem. Give the exam. Still you will not be able to work
Ah,
out. Right.
right, right,
So,
right.
so obviously there is a kind of equilibrium which starts
Hmm,
happening. It's like then if you have missiles, then you have your defense systems, as you have seen in the past
hmm,
few weeks
hmm,
with that clash between India and Pakistan. It's not that you are one way in. If there are missiles, you have a defense system. So it
hmm.
will come into that way, and the education process will also evolve more or less into that kind of thing. You know.
I think you are absolutely right. Rather than, because in our times it was like learn law of Newton, what it is about. Nowadays it has changed to give me one case scenario where I can apply this law of Newton.
Exactly.
By this way, it will be very easy for children to get hands of it.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
yes, 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 that's nice. Okay,
Yeah.
give me some go-to tools of AI that you feel Gen Z can begin their journey with.
It's in a technology side or in a non-tech side and a normal side?
Non-tech side.
Okay. Now, I think non-tech side, for non-tech side, I would
So, for
definitely.
example, we
Hmm.
have kids till 12th. Okay, so,
Hmm.
so we recommend that uh, bring their pace up with the AI. So, which
Hmm.
tools we suggest our Gen Zs?
Well, I would go with the Google Notebook. That is one of the things which you should always have. A student should always have in their arsenal because
Mhm.
that's like keeping your notes and then summarizing them, which you need memory hooks, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So I would be definitely bent upon the notebook one. Obviously, there is a another model which is again from the Google, which is a research-based model. So you do deep research. So if you want to research a particular topic in its entirety, it goes to the whole World Wide Web, get all the public domain knowledge, and then collate a 5 or 10 page document for you with all the links in it and kind of really summarize and all that stuff.
Okay.
So that's another area which can be used. Otherwise, I would also recommend people to the students to use actively any of these reasoning models which are out there for their day-to-day learning across, and
Mm-hmm.
not only get the answers from it, but also gets the step to arrive to those answers. I think that should be the way to go. And yeah, and that should be fine, I suppose, to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And how about how we can add the AI in the business area? So, for example, we have a manufacturing unit. Okay, so how I can make use of AI, because we have a lot of laborers working there. So, how can business people enhance their productivity?
Yeah. See, the thing is that that's where the opportunity is for the techie people and non-techie people as well.
Hmm.
Now, I will give you a small example. What actually happens was that
Hmm.
there was an HR guy, and I
Hmm.
won't name the company. And then person say that, see, this particular model is taking over. There are obviously number of jobs is going to go down and all those kind of stuff as you listen in the media and all that stuff, right? But then I said to that person, see, you have all the know-how of how the HR works, right?
Hmm.
And that's what the main thing is. You are
Hmm.
a business SME. Now, if you
Hmm.
want to create a HR suite,
Hmm.
which actually starts working for you, that you can do maybe within a week or a quarter, because you now need to English conversation with these models, and that these models can create a complete software for you, right?
Okay.
So now the thing is that creating a software is no more a prerogative of a technical guy. Any guy who understands English
Hmm.
can
They
do
can.
a coding aspect, right? So now
Hmm.
that's where the business basically people who are
Hmm.
a lot of experience in what they're doing, they can translate into apps or in technology space, which can be
Hmm. Hmm.
created by these models. So that's where
Hmm.
the things will come across. And as far as the labor force and all those things you said across are concerned, see, for them, uh, manufacturing industry have come a long way. It has gone into automation before technical industry. We are
Hmm.
touching the automation aspect now, which we
Now.
are afraid of in this moment. But if you see 15 years, 20 years back, or 25 years back, the whole manufacturing pipeline has been more or less automated. You have only
Hmm.
foremen and few obviously ground workers for certain very complicated or complex activities. But otherwise, you have more or less people only observing the assembly lines, which are automated.
Hmm.
So you have only foremen. That's what we call it. So same thing is going to happen to technical industry more or less. So you will only need foremen who basically just see that these agents are working fine, they're talking to
Now.
each other, and then they're coordinating and everything across, and then working their things out. So therefore, it's all a matter of the business know-how, which is going to be translated by the person who understands the business without the need of a technical middleman.
Hmm. Right. Right.
I will quote again a technical middleman. That's where I'm seeing the whole technology thing, right? So that is something like no broker to the creation of all these applications. Now we are these whole technical industries is becoming broker from that perspective by
Hmm.
after, once these models are out. I mean, it was a necessity, but now it is a broker.
Hmm.
So now, if I am a city of certain area, I need not to have a team or army of people to translate my thought process into something practical.
Hmm.
So I know English and I can type English. Leave aside English. If you know any other language, the models are more than capable to translate it and then build the application for that matter. Right?
So, what's your opinion on the layoffs happening?
Well, see, layoff is
Everybody's
a
quoting it as a AI layoff.
no, it's not a AI layoff. I would say, see, layoff is. I think again, I will quote Wimbu from Joho, the founder of. Quite impressed by his basically the way he thinks across. Now, it's a systemically we have created a lot of inefficiencies in our ecosystem, IT service ecosystem. Right? Now, the thing is that that is also not a problem. The problem actually that was obviously a problem being worked out for many years, but it was never in the full public clear.
Hmm.
These LLM models have exposed the inefficiencies. So those inefficiencies are now basically when they're exposed, the LLM models are not only exposing it, but putting a cure to it as well. So that layoffs basically which you see across is a basically now chopping off all the inefficiencies in our systems.
So how it is putting a cure? You just mentioned it is putting a cure as well.
So the LLM models are putting a cure in the sense that, let's say, if I have created a technical debt by creating an application where there were so many loopholes into it and so many areas which were not perfectly written, the code was not optimized, never got into revisions and all that, never followed the syntax guideline and all those kind of stuff. Now these models kick in. They first tell you where the code is not optimized, where the code is not proper, where the code is into a dead end, going into dead end. It goes through all those code, gives you that information.
Hmm.
And then when you ask it, can you fix it for me? I think that's just 3 words, not more than that.
Hmm.
It starts telling you, I have a full plan for you.
Yeah, whole roadmap.
Now that roadmap is just the beginning. Second part comes in, it actually then gives you and says you, shall I put it in place for you? Shall I implement it? And you have to only say proceed.
Hmm.
And the time you type proceed or you speak on a mic, it start picking up all your pages and your genie is out in the open.
It's a magic.
It basically feels like a magic, but there's
Feels like
whole technology moving behind it, right? So that's where your
yeah.
agentic AI comes into play, and that's where the codex and the windsurf and the cursor and all these technologies, basically the agentic AI, which actually combines these models and have an agent which actually starts implementing all that, not only giving you suggestions but also implementing it. So it talks to the model, gets the solution, and then starts implementing it. Gets a code, put it in your files. Obviously, you have so many files where you have written all those codes, fix it up, run it for you, and then not only that, it can also do your MCP kind of stuff, which you must be hearing a lot, which is
Hmm.
another area. I think that's more technical, so I won't go much deeper into that.
Yeah.
But basically, what is happening is that these agents are now talking to all these disparate systems and then applying.
What is AI agent first? Or AI, just give me some 2, 3 real life examples for AI agents as well.
See, AI agent, you can say Winstuff Cascade is an AI agent, right? So, like the ChatGPT came with the new version of there, which is the GitLab Codex and all that. These are AI agents.
Okay.
AI agents, again, Anthropic was the first company to basically code this word agent, AI agents, right? But AI
Hmm.
agents, in a very simple term, is basically a program or a kind of an infrastructure, if you may say in a technical terms, which basically, given a prompt,
Hmm.
it or maybe impetus from anywhere. I will use
Hmm.
impetus word because that's more word which actually correlates with all the systems. Now, if you
Hmm.
give it impetus in any form, what actually it does is that it takes that impetus
Hmm.
and whatever the material you have, it can talk to that. Obviously, you can scan it, search it, and all that kind of stuff. Then talk to these LLM models, get the solution out of it, and
Okay.
then the most important factor which differentiate an AI agent from a search, knowledge-based
Hmm.
search, is the action being taken by this agent to implement that. Now, as soon as that
Okay.
action starts coming into play, that becomes a AI agent. Otherwise, it's a sophisticated search or a chat.
Right. I was
So as
about to
soon,
ask that.
yes, as soon as you start right,
Hmm.
that's where the AI agent is complete in itself.
So basically, we are training somebody, which is AI agent, to analyze the problem, and then we are even asking to schedule to fix that issue.
Exactly. It's not only training. See, at this point, we are not training agents.
Okay.
Agents' mind is all these LLMs. So these LLM are
Okay.
mind of the agents.
Okay.
Agent basically is interacting with these minds. It's
Hmm.
like, it's like basically you have
Customize.
a, yeah, basically you can take a small example of any situation for that matter. You have war, right? So you have all your intelligence in the war.
Hmm.
Then you have a commander on the battlefield,
Hmm.
right? Just an example of the recent thing. You have a commander in the battlefield.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, these all the minds which are working on a war room, they're quite far from the action point.
Hmm.
That is happening in the border area or on the enemy lines.
Hmm.
Now there is a commander who is quite there and open. Now this commander is an agent for that
Hmm.
matter. Now this person is not thinking by himself or herself. This person is basically now talking to these war room guys who are the cream or the brain behind the whole strategy. So he says, okay, this is the thing. What should I do across? So they say across do these three things. Now, what this agent or the commander does is that it starts giving order and executing it. So you
Okay.
take the battalion and I say that, so this agent basically what it's doing is, again, Anthropic, as I told you, Anthropic, is that it connects to that particular through MCP. Again, MCP is another area which is a context protocol, model context protocol, which is coming into play. Now, what actually happens is that, apart from that, it actually orders across to its battalion, saying that, okay, let's execute this stuff. So
Mm.
start opening all the code, fix it up, and then patching it up, run it across. Even if you have to push it across in GitLab or GitHub and all that, versioning and all that, it does all that for you. So these agent basically uh, is your central focus, central point for
Mm.
all these coordination. It's like neurons in our system, right? So you
Mm.
just give them a signal and then they start putting it down and then
Good tip.
executing it. Yeah. That,
Mm. Mm.
right.
And just tell me, we have a lot of LLM models available: ChatGPT, Bard, Copilot,
Yeah.
Gemini. So, which one do you feel is taking over the market nowadays?
Well, I would say that, see, this is a neck to neck race. I would say that there are six main major, I think, as you understand, across obviously, right from Elon Musk to Bezos and Nadal to Pichai and then Zuckerberg and obviously Gorak. So there are four, five these players,
Yes.
and then China, obviously, DeepSeek, and then Baidu and all that stuff. Now, see what happens is that as soon as the technology comes out there, obviously there's this open source perspective, which obviously Meta has, and again DeepSeek have. Obviously, ChatGPT also basically now having some of the models which are open source. Now, the thing is that these all models, more or less,
Mm.
are coming into play into a almost level playing fields. The only
Mm.
difference is that certain models have got their certain sites very, very prominent. So,
Mm.
give you an example. So, if you have to ground your search, ground the search, right?
Mm.
Then I would go with Google. Now, why I
Okay.
say grounded search is that because see, search has been dominated by Google for like past 2 or 3 decades. Right?
Correct.
So if I have to do some kind of research,
Mm.
then obviously I can go with ChatGPT. I will go with Google. They will also basically have some part of it.
Mm.
But then the people who have already worked for so many time on the search perspective, I would say that okay, let's go with Google because they have a base there. But
Yes.
then if I have to just go for logic,
Mm.
I may go for ChatGPT, like the models which are reasoning models for one and all that stuff, reasoning models. I'll go for that, or maybe DeepSeek for that, right?
Mm.
So it all depends on what kind of problem you're solving.
Okay.
That actually is important in order to decide what kind of LLM you are going to use across. So it's not like that one LLM is superior to other. There will be niche
Okay.
areas of each LLM, and that's how the story is unfolding.
My strong areas differ, obviously,
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
LLMs.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Any
Exactly.
tip, anything that you would like to give, or the freshers to land in AI, or is it really required to land in AI? What opinion do you give?
Yeah, I would say, see I definitely said that multiple times as well that anybody who is into technology is a fresher forever, and they should remain fresher forever. Otherwise, they will be in trouble, right? Because you need to
That
keep on
was a good
learning
one.
across. Yeah,
That was a
you
good
need
one.
to keep on learning because the pace of technology is definitely very. As I said, you come to quarter and even going to weeks. So therefore, you just keep yourself fresher, always keep learning, and keep embracing the technology. You need not to fight; you to just basically use it, and I think that should be
And
nice.
stop considering that it's a curse.
No, never, never, because it's like basically I would say across that it's very important to understand that every technology which is out there is only subservient to the human
Hmm.
cause, and let's see it from that perspective. Right?
Good
And
one.
that's the way how you should work it out. Right?
Thank you. Thank you, Anand sir.
All right.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Take care.
Bye bye.